Hello, everybody. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose, and it's a beautiful day in sunny Nooga, Tennessee. I'm glad to have you here with me. We're going to have some NASCAR talk as we head to Phoenix, and I'm going to invite my buddy Sam onto the show to talk some NASCAR. He's a bigger NASCAR fan than I am, and he knows a whole lot more. I know infinitely less. I'm a vague follower of NASCAR. I know things. I know when races are happening. I know what they mean and what the ramifications are. So I'm not a NASCAR idiot. It's not like I never watch. I just don't follow it as closely as everything else. And if I sound like I swallowed a bag of rocks, that is because I have in fact swallowed a bag of rocks. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sick. I'm still feeling the effects of a cold. Something hit me on Tuesday. Like I was fine Tuesday. I had a couple of sneezes. I thought they were allergies. And then Tuesday night, I descended into sickness and was not the same again. I was not on the show on Wednesday because I didn't have a voice. So that would have been awkward. That would have been hard to listen to. But you know what? It wouldn't have been hard to watch because you can find us on YouTube. Stream classic episodes. You know what was hard to watch last night? Football. And not just because those games are terrible, because they are all bad. The Bills played the Jets. They won 22-17. The interesting thing about that game, of course, is that Rex Ryan used to coach the Jets. And so his new team beat his old team. And it's Rex Ryan, right? So Rex Ryan's full of antics. He yells things, usually profane-laced words. And you could see him freaking out on the cameras, and he was having a grand old time. But the games were hard to watch if you were colorblind. I am not colorblind, but people who were colorblind took to Twitter to express their, how shall I say it, their lack of favor in what they were seeing, or in this particular instance, not seeing. Because if you were colorblind, the Bills wearing red and the Jets wearing green, everybody looked like the New York Jets to you. All the players looked like the New York Jets to you. If you suffer from red-green colorblindness, which a decent amount of the population does, and most of the people on the planet who are colorblind are men, that's also most of the people watching football. So you can imagine that this is an awkward scenario. The NFL and Nike decided to have some new uniforms, some throwbacks, not some throwbacks, they're alternate uniforms. They were called the Color Rush uniforms. Your whole uniform is oversaturated in one color. You know, the Bills have 3 colors that they use, white, red, and blue. The Nike people would pick one color and just oversaturate your uniform with that. So what they did was that they took the red in the Bills uniform and just oversaturated their entire uniform with that shade of red. And they did the same thing for the Jets. So your jersey top is red, your pants are red, your socks are red, your shoes are red, and the only thing that's really different is your helmet. And they're going to do the same thing next week with the Titans and the Jaguars. The Jaguars are going to have gold from their uniform be most of their uniform, and the Titans are going to have the blue from their uniform, that light blue, be most of their uniform. It's going to be oversaturated. It's going to be fine for the Jags and the Titans next week. If you were colorblind, not fine for the Bills and the Jets because everybody looked like Jets. Anything in red looked green to you because that is what that form of colorblindness does. And the game was not just hard to watch because it's typically bad football played on that time of the week. Just Thursday night football is bad. It's a short week for all the players involved. They play Sunday, and then they don't have a full week to recover. They play Thursday again. They're already hurting and in pain, so the football is just terrible. That's just really what it is. And I continue to watch it because it's football, and, you know, that's just what it is. But, like, it's not good football that I'm watching. I would rather watch something else. Like, if there's an NBA game on that's promising to be better, I usually just watch that, to be honest with you, unless the Titans or the Falcons are involved. I really don't want anything to do with Thursday night football. It's usually dreadful. But apart from it looking bad, like looking like bad football, if you were a person who's colorblind, it just looked all the same to you. Everything looked the same. And that's unfortunate that the NFL and Nike did not think that through at all. That the red-green color blindness is the most prevalent form of color blindness, and you have one team oversaturated in red and one team oversaturated in green. And oh, how hilarious it is that it's the exact shade of red that people cannot see when they are colorblind. That is unfortunate. So the field is green, the Jets are green, and apparently if you were colorblind, the Bills were green also. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. If you search Hot News Talk Radio, we are the first thing that comes up. And it's nice to hear from you all. It's nice to interact with you all when we get the opportunity to. I think more of you should reach out. We're friendly. We don't bite. We're not going to grab you by the leg and drag you into the deep web where you don't want to go. We're not going to drag you in there. Okay? If you were listening to the Digital Drive earlier, you know that that's not even possible. With Russell, very informative show. I listen to it all the time, and I learn a lot. Every time I listen, I learn something. And I'm not, a tech guy or anything, but I know a decent amount. Russell just knows more than I do. He knows more than I do, and I learn something new every time I listen to that show. So check it out. And before we get into anything else, because the NASCAR stuff took most of my research time, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But I got to call out Mr. Judd and Confederate Mike because they called me this morning, and I'm not happy. Okay, I was not warned of a call. I was not given a heads up. This is what happens when you have guests on your show. This is a little 101 on how radio works. When you have guests on your show, usually you let them know that they're going to be a guest on your show. That's typically how that goes. At least that's what I do with my guests. When I call Bill every Thursday so we can have Thursdays with Bill, I usually let Bill know, hey, Bill, we're going to be talking about this, that, and the other thing. So Bill knows. He can do his research. He can look stuff up. Or are you cool with talking about this? Do you know enough? Because my goal ultimately is not to make Bill sound like Bill doesn't know what he's talking about. He does. He's a college football expert. He's a national writer for Sporting News. With that said, there is so much in college football that the depth and the width of college football, there's a lot. There are things that you may not know off the top of your head. Okay, I'm not going to ask him who's playing each other 2 weeks from now because that would be ridiculous for him to know that because off the top of his head, he might know Ohio State because he's from Ohio. He's not going to know everybody. So I get a call from Mr. Judd and Confederate Mike this morning. I'm not happy because they asked me to talk about the Thanksgiving games. Okay? And those games are not being played this week. And I was insulted on the air. Okay, Mike tells me that I'm the sports guy. I ought to know who's playing on Thanksgiving. Look, the Lions and the Cowboys play every Thanksgiving, not each other just on the same day. That's all I got for you. Do you know why? Do you know why that's not information that's just at the top of my head? It's a regular season game, like all the other ones. You don't get extra points for playing on Thanksgiving Day. They don't give you an extra win. You don't get a trophy. It's just a regular season game that happens to be on Thanksgiving because all of us are home with nothing else to do. That's the point of a Thanksgiving game. We're all there. So there might as well be football. I don't need to know who's. So then, because I'm apparently not prepared for the thing that I was never told to prepare for, I got hung up on. They hung up on me. So I'm like, okay, fine. I get that. It's radio. You just got to keep it moving. You got to have things being said or it's not interesting. So I look up the Thanksgiving games because it's not hard. They just look it up. Okay, there it is. I call back, with maybe some analysis of those games. We don't even make it to the night game. I'm talking about Cowboys and Panthers. I'm talking about how Cam Newton's a beast. Probably going to destroy Dallas because their defense is anemic. And their offense without Tony Romo obviously isn't an offense at all. You could barely call it football, what they're doing out there without Tony Romo and Des Bryant at 100%. So I'm explaining this And then I realized I'm talking to myself because they hung up on me again. So I got a bone to pick with you guys. I'm just telling you that wasn't fair. Your show is funny. Mr. Judd and Confederate Mike from 7 to 8. It's a hilarious show. If you prank called me, that would be one thing. You didn't prank call me. You called me with serious intentions, a serious analysis of a game, mocked me, and then hung up on me. Come on, man. I'm not saying I want an apology. I want an explanation, though. Like, because you're going to do it again. The issue here is that you're going to do it again. Okay, I don't know who thought that was acceptable and or okay, but the issue here is that you're going to call me up. You're going to do it again.
You like that? You like that?
I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. If you describe things that are not fun and not at all liked by me, that would be one of those things that I do not like. Come on, guys. For real? Like I just had to be okay with that. Just because it was like 8:30. Oh, by the way, I got my entire generation insulted. On top of all of that, I got my entire generation insulted. Yes, I am 25 years old. That makes me a millennial. Yes, people don't like millennials very much because they think we're lazy or whatever it is that people think that millennials are. It's just that America's changed. We're just a product of our times. Okay, I don't like waking up early in the morning because the jobs that you do in this country these days, you don't have to do early in the morning. That's it. I'm not gonna go back and blame some, like, you know, my parents or my grandparents for behaving a certain way because their generation, because the times that they lived in necessitated certain behaviors. You know, the whole children should be seen and not heard situation. I don't know that you can do that in this generation, because if children aren't seen and heard, they're saying and being heard by someone somewhere. If that's on the internet, then that's on the internet. If it's at school, then it's at school. But they're no longer in a place where you can see them all the time. So maybe it's better to hear and see your children so that you know what they're doing. Just the times change and you got to treat everything differently. So the fact that I don't like to wake up early in the morning is not an indictment of my generation or an indictment of me as a person. But just side rant that had nothing to do with sports, but everything to do with Mr. Judd. I hope the Razorbacks just lose this Saturday. I just hope that they just get steamrolled. I think I might have picked them with you, and I do not care. I hope that is misery incarnate, because that was just not fair, you guys. It's AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, and next week, the Titans will be taking on the Bengals in those NFL Color Rush uniforms that are dreadful and look like onesie pajamas. And I don't know why they think this is a good idea. You know what I think is a good idea? Throwback jerseys. Throwback. Like, what if the Tennessee Titans look like the Houston Oilers for a game? Like their past dictates, or they have the throwback Redskin jerseys that are really cool. And I'd like to see those again with the brown pants instead of the yellow. That would be cool. The Atlanta Falcons, you could go any number of situations with the old bird, a lot less red in that uniform. Maybe make it more black and white like it used to be. I'm okay with all of those things. What you don't need to do is just completely assault the eyes of everyone watching the game and making sure that people who are colorblind cannot see what's happening. Because if you were colorblind, the Bills and the Jets look the same. And I hope you had fun watching that game, because you couldn't see a thing. Of course, I could see everything, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, colorblind people, you didn't miss anything. Not a good game. Not one bit. It was just not a good game at all. Just going out there and telling you. In a little bit, I'm going to have my buddy Sam Blevins come on. We're going to talk some NASCAR. We're going to talk some college football coming up tomorrow, some games that you're not going to want to miss here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial, welcome.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, y'all!
Hello, I'm Sheriff Jim Hammond with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. Everyone knows training is important, especially when it comes to training our local law enforcement. Effective training helps keep our officers proficient and able to respond to a multitude of events to keep the citizens of Hamilton County safe. In order to support our local law enforcement and make sure that they have the tools necessary to train and do their job, the Aegis Foundation of Greater Chattanooga is actively trying to raise $70,000 in our community to purchase a state-of-the-art visual firearms training simulator. The training lab is an interactive firearms simulation system that will help local law enforcement consistently train for a variety of life-threatening situations that they face each and every day. Training tools like this are not cheap. If you or your company would like to donate and help support the Aegis Foundation's goal to purchase one of these machines, please contact 423-886-1850. Once again, please contact 423-886-1850.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
President Obama makes Jimmy Carter look like Napoleon Bonaparte. We have a president that leads from behind, and when America doesn't lead, bad things happen.
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. My guest this week has been dispensing financial advice for over 2 decades. Suze Orman will be here to explain why so many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck and what we can do about growing personal debt. Don't miss Suze Orman this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Expect lots of sunshine and nice weather out there through the afternoon. A bit breezy and cool, though. Highs only around 60. Tonight, clear, cold, lows 32 to 35 with a light freeze possible. For Saturday and Sunday, lots of sunshine, highs upper 50s to around 60, lower 30s again Sunday morning. Don't miss Kohl's Super Saturday. Shop early birds till 1 p.m. like 50 to 60% off outerwear this Saturday at Kohl's. See store or Kohls.com for details. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Hello, everybody. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. We're going to be talking about NASCAR very shortly. I can see Sam pulling in, so we're gonna do that. But before I get into anything, I'll give you a rundown on games you need to be watching out for this weekend. I'll give you one. I'm going to talk about the rest of them later. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but here's one game that I think you need to be watching this weekend, and that is Florida and South Carolina. Florida needs to win out to have a shot at getting back into this thing, to making the playoff, which would be huge for Florida, because I don't think that at the beginning of this season, when Jim McElwain started out, that anybody had them even close. But they've gone on an impressive run, losing only one game. They could have lost one to Tennessee, but they didn't. They hung in there, and they ended up winning out there in the end, getting the best of Butch Jones and the Volunteers. And you're looking at a Florida team that last week struggled pretty heavily against Vanderbilt, a school that they should have, by all rights, dominated. I mean, 9-7. What an ugly, hideous game. What an absolutely ugly, hideous game. I couldn't believe my eyes. And here's the thing, too, with playing Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's pretty good at defense. Like, they're not going to get the credit they deserve for that, because they can score absolutely no points. If Vanderbilt could generate offense at all, like, they really need a quarterback to come in there and help them out, and maybe a big playmaking receiver. They're not bad running the ball, but they've got to get better at trying to generate some offense, or at least keeping the ball long enough to scare somebody. Keep the ball long enough to keep their defense off the field. Their defense does a really good job. Their defense does a really, really good job. And it's kind of depressing, because you see that defense hold a team like Florida to 9 points. Florida went on a rampage against Tennessee. You would have thought the same thing would have happened to Vanderbilt. I thought that Florida was coming to take out Vanderbilt, and it would have been 24-7, 24-7, 21-7, 21-3 even. You know what? Vanderbilt did a good job scoring a touchdown there with the offense that they've got, but I just don't see it with them. And when you see that's the team that held Florida back, that's the team that held them down, like, it's a little disconcerting, right? Like, isn't it just a tad bit disconcerting? That has to be disheartening. And they're going to fight their way back into this thing, okay? That's the issue with them. They're going to fight their way back into this thing, and what I want to see out of Florida against South Carolina is some big plays. They've got to start to show that they can make some big plays. Again, the committee looks at people and looks and sees, whether or not they have a well-rounded team on both sides of the ball. And one thing that I've noticed with them is inconsistency. It's really inconsistency with Florida. And I want to see them get over that hump against South Carolina. I do expect them to beat the Gamecocks. I do. But I don't see the consistency from them week in and week out as a team that consistently puts up points on the offensive side of the ball. When there's a school that they're up against that's got certain deficiencies in the running game, when you're bad against the run, Florida picks you apart, man. But if you're bad against the pass, Florida doesn't really punish you for that, which is weird. That is a strange thing to not be. And I'm confused with Florida. They're at 11 right now. The committee is not going to put them in the top 10 until they start winning these games and start winning at least some of them pretty big. You've got to be consistent on both sides of the ball. And they're just not. They're just not. So we're going to talk about NASCAR coming up in a little bit. We're going to talk about the race coming up in Phoenix. We've got a lot of storylines here, including Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick has dominated that track in Phoenix. Absolutely dominated it. And it's weird because it's a track. It's an asymmetrical track. Okay, it doesn't have your typical look, your typical feel. And you'd think, okay, here's a track that doesn't look and feel like the other ones. Can we get some diversity here? Can we get some diversity in the winners of this track? Like, mostly it's been Kevin Harvick, right? Like, lately. And he can join Richard Petty as a 5-time winner in Phoenix, which would be huge. And there's some guys that have got an opportunity to win that are not named Kevin Harvick also. Really looking at Jimmy Johnson can win anywhere, it seems like. I don't like him, and I don't like admitting that, but he can seemingly win anywhere, and Keselowski's got a chance as well. But we're not gonna give it all away. We're not gonna give it all away. The secret of the trade. But you're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, brought to you today by Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Cash, cash, cash. Get top dollar for your gold and silver from Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. 5301 Brainerd Road. Cash, cash, cash. Again, that's Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Another game that I think you should be looking forward to this weekend, and it's not a game that is the most obvious game. It's not going to be the one that floats to the forefront of everybody's minds, but here it goes. North Carolina and Miami. It's not the most obvious one, but North Carolina is a one-loss school. Yes, they're playing in the ACC, the least football conference of all the Power 5 conferences. Right? Like it's certainly there. Georgia Tech is in there too. You're not shocked when one of those schools is good, but you're pleasantly surprised. They're not an amazing football power, but their offense, I think, is being completely overlooked and underrated. They've got a fifth-year senior as quarterback, and here's the thing: they have a look and feel to them that's very, very Big 12 to me, very Pac-12 even. They're very offensive centric, but I think defensively they hold up too. I think they hold up, and it's going to be an interesting game to me, in large part because what their schedule has looked like, which has been fairly tough. It's not been incredibly tough, and that's why they're ranked 23 overall. But again, you start to see some of these wins and these losses add up for a bunch of other teams, and things start to shake their way out. I don't think that North Carolina ever makes it into the top 4, and I don't think that they deserve to be there, just based on who they've played. The only good teams that they've played so far that you could say, Pittsburgh and Virginia. Their only loss coming to South Carolina, and that was the South Carolina team. That was an opening game win. So that was a team that they had that had Spurrier as the head coach still. So it's a different. They lost to a much better South Carolina team, you could argue. Though South Carolina without Spurrier has looked inspired somewhat. And maybe the old ball coach just had to hang it up there, but I really like their schedule. It's not the strongest schedule. Okay, I'm not going to argue that for you. Okay, but the Georgia Tech game that they played and the Virginia game that they played and the Pittsburgh game that they played, those are decent wins. They are. And what I want to see from North Carolina as they go out to play Miami, this is a team that they ought to beat because Miami hasn't been very good. And when Miami does win, it's on a fluky series of calls or no calls on 8 laterals at the end of the game. You're not playing a good Miami team. But it's how North Carolina handles Miami. Same thing for Alabama and Mississippi State, which is probably a bigger game that Alabama's got to go down there and they've got to handle Mississippi State, in my opinion. They've got to go down to Mississippi State, and I think they've got to make Dak Prescott look bad. And I think that's a hard thing to ask of a team right now. To make Dak Prescott look bad is a difficult thing to ask right now because he's the best quarterback in the SEC. He's the best quarterback in the SEC, and it's not even close. His numbers have been ridiculous. And he's shown himself to be an evolved quarterback. He's grown. Dak Prescott was giving the ball away last year. You know how many interceptions Dak Prescott has this year? One. 18 touchdowns to 1 INT. He's already thrown for over 2,000 yards. He's completed 200 of 300 passes. He's completing 66% of his passes to a team that's got nobody on it. That offense is Dak Prescott and 10 guys. Dak Prescott could pick 10 guys off the street, and the result probably wouldn't be that different. Like Mississippi State, it's not good. On the defensive side of the ball, they're all right, but on offense, dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. I don't know how else to sum up what it is that Dak Prescott is doing. Like, what he's doing is completely unprecedented, and Alabama can make Dak Prescott look bad in a number of ways. That defense, they're so deep in their front seven. Defensive line, linebackers, they're able to get to the backfield. If they want to pass rush, they can pass rush. If they want to stop your run, they can stop your run. I think they showed that well enough against LSU. And Dak Prescott, he's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. He's going to be forced to make quick decisions. And Alabama doesn't have to blitz. They just outmuscle people. They just push you around and get to where they want to be. They didn't bring extra guys to stop Brandon Harris and Leonard Fournette last week. They're not bringing extra guys to stop Dak Prescott this week. Dak Prescott's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly and make good decisions with the football. And there's not going to be a ton of mismatches for him to exploit. And Alabama's just that good. They are. So they have that option. And then they've got the other option of using their offense as a great defense. Just give the ball to Derrick Henry. I mean, that guy's shown that he's about as unstoppable as anybody in college football outside of maybe a Leonard Fournette. He's about as good as anybody. And what he's done is he's not brutalizing people. He's not, like Leonard Fournette is running angry. Like Leonard Fournette is running not just to hurt you, but like to hurt your feelings. He make you feel really bad. When he's stepping on people, figuratively. Derrick Henry is strong and he can finish a run as well. Like he's not a slouch by any means, but he is using his vision. And that offensive line does a great job of opening up holes for him, and he is making all the right decisions. He's cutting back into holes. He's making smart moves, and he's making them very quickly. And that puts that offense in an advantageous position because it opens up the pass, and Coker's been very good with the pass. Jay Coker, if anything, he's been exploiting the mismatches that Derrick Henry helps to create. And you know what? Keeping your offense on the field means your defense doesn't have to be on the field as much. It means you're wasting time that the other team can't use. You're keeping Dak Prescott off the field. There's a lot of things involved in all of that. And so Alabama and Mississippi State, that's a game that you're going to have to watch this weekend. That is a game that you're going to have to look out for this weekend. We're going to be talking about NASCAR here in a little bit, the race that's coming up in Phoenix. We've got it here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, as always. Clutch with Keon Rose, brought to you by Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Got any gold necklaces or bracelets that you think aren't worth anything? Let Rick personally appraise them and give you cash on the spot at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. At 5301 Brainerd Road, it's cash, cash, cash. 5301 Brainerd Road, it's Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. So those are a few of the games that I think you need to be watching this weekend. And I do think that you need to be watching the race this weekend. And my buddy Sam is going to come in. We're going to explain what's going on at the race. We've got 3 spots here left in the chase for the Cup. It's going to be a mad dash. It's going to be something of a scramble. Also, is Kevin Harvick going to win in Phoenix again? Is he going to be in a class that only Richard Petty is in? I mean, come on. 5-time winner at Phoenix. Is that going to be him? We'll let you know That and more here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Are you tired of feeling like just another account number to your financial advisor? Try something refreshingly different. Call Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal in Hickson at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Social media, we're on that. Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, at Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. Download the TuneIn app and follow us anywhere at any time. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose, and we're going to be talking some NASCAR. Sprint Cup Championship is well underway, and here to help me talk about it, because I'm not super knowledgeable. I know a little bit, but I don't know very much, so to help me talk about it is my buddy Sam. Sam, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, no problem. I'm glad to be here, and hey, it's a great day to be here. Just glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
So let's just jump right into it. We have the big race coming up at Phoenix, and the thing about Phoenix is it's a very odd-shaped track.
Yeah, it really is. It's a tri-oval. It's been reconfigured a few times, but it's really just an odd track, I think, because it's one of NASCAR's very first predominant West Coast tracks. On the West Coast, you know, it's in Phoenix, and most of NASCAR's track, it was constructed in the, I want to say the mid to early 60s, and it became popular in the late 70s, in the 80s. And that time, see, NASCAR was still considered more of a Southern sport. You had Talladega, you had Daytona, you had Atlanta. Phoenix was, in that sense, I mean, you had Riverside, but Riverside was a road course, so that was, you know, that was kind of out of the ordinary in itself. But Phoenix, just a regular kind of track on the West Coast, it was just strange.
Do you think that helped expand the sport out of the South?
You know, I think it did. I think it got more people on that end of the country to look at NASCAR and say, "Oh, hey, here's something else we can follow and maybe even waste our time with," if you want to look at it that way. But whatever, you can. So yeah, I think it definitely did.
Okay, we've got a question, like a conundrum coming up with this, which is that first off, Kevin Harvick has won at Phoenix 4 times.
Yes.
And he's about to reach like legendary status at that track. Is there anybody else that has a chance to win not named Kevin Harvick?
Well, I would say, I mean, you got to look at, I think looking at the standings in the chase, you have Jeff Gordon. He's leading the chase. Now he's only leading by 2 points.
Okay. So it's a very slim lead.
Yeah. But I think Gordon could pull out and win again, possibly this week. 'Cause you know, he won back at Martinsville.
That's true.
Now, also, you want to look for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has been on a hot streak lately. He could win. He has a good chance, I think, this week. But, you know.
Okay. What is your opinion about Kyle Busch? Because I know that he's very cocky.
Well,
a lot of people don't like him.
He's a cocky, yeah.
He's a fire starter.
I mean, I guess that's kind of a good thing in a sense. He's cocky. He knows what he wants to do. You know, he's not over the top. Well, okay, I say that again. He is over the top, I think, in some cases, but he's not like, he can back himself up, I believe.
Okay.
But as far as me being a fan of him, no.
Not you.
No, I'm not a Kyle Busch fan. Not at all.
You're not alone on that. Kyle Busch is very much controversial. Let's just say that for him. Well, him and his brother Kurt.
Oh, yeah.
Both been
Busch brothers. Just, you know,
they're not easy people to like.
No, they're not. They can be gigantic butts on the racetrack. But I mean, hey, I guess you can't be all mad about that. I mean, that's kind of NASCAR in a sense. And really, I guess we haven't seen a whole lot of that recently. But you know, it's just as far as racing goes in general, people being like that. But I mean, that's just NASCAR, I think. So
I gotcha. Here's the thing that's interesting to me with this Phoenix track is that it seems to be when a track is of that shape that there should be a wider diversity of people winning the track, because it's very, because okay, I guess the best way to explain it is it's not something that you can prepare for as easily, and it's not like all the other tracks that you've been racing on all year, which to me I like because it leads to some great racing.
Right.
But lately it's been Kevin Harvick.
Well, I think certain drivers have their I don't know what you would say, their shtick at a certain track. They know they are good at that track. I would think of like Earnhardt was at Talladega. He was always good at Talladega. That's why he had, for one of the reasons, he had a big fan base down there at that track. But I think Harvick knows the track. I think he knows how to drive on the track. I think he knows when to take a pit stop at that track. That's something the drivers have to really understand when they race. It's really something you have to understand as a driver in NASCAR is what I was getting to. But I don't know. I would look for Gordon to do something this week. I think he could. I mean, he's leading right now. I think he could possibly, and I want him to keep his lead for that matter.
That's right. This is his final season racing, so there's a whole lot of legacy stuff going on at this track, not just with Harvick, but also with Gordon. Jimmy Johnson is always a threat to win anything ever.
Well, he's Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more you can say about that. He's just that guy. But how big of a threat is he going to be at this track?
Well, I personally, I would say Johnson. I mean, he's doing pretty good this season. He's number 12. I mean, he's in the top 20. I mean, that's good to be in the top 20, I think. Johnson, he won last week at Texas. I don't know. He might have his cockiness built up. He might have his little he might have confidence built up, enough confidence built up to win this week, or at least maybe even finish in the top 10. I would look for him to at least finish in the top 10, if not the top 5 even. So,
Okay. Well, that's pretty terrifying. You don't like Kyle Busch very much. I'm not a huge Jimmy Johnson fan.
Well, I'm not a Jimmy Johnson fan really because he wins too much. But
it's that thing. It's the Cowboys. It's the Bulls. It's the Lakers. You just have a certain amount of winning, and I just don't.
But I've always asked my dad, because my dad, he's been watching NASCAR for 30 years maybe. He's been watching it for a long, long, long time. I always ask him, hey, when Earnhardt was still racing, or when he was still alive, when Petty was still racing, they win a whole lot. Did it ever get boring watching the same people win over and over and over again? And I really haven't got an answer from him, but it's just,
I don't know. I think there's a likability that I don't know that we have with our drivers. I don't know. I hate to say that, but like Jeff Gordon might have been the last likable guy.
I think Gordon, to be honest, is one of the last old school drivers. He's the last driver out of that old school regime that raced back with the old school drivers. Yeah.
That's probably it, because he's not the nicest guy ever either.
No,
and Dale Earnhardt wasn't either.
Well, that was just part of the deal you got with Dale Earnhardt.
But we respect him, we like him, and then we don't like Jimmy Johnson at all.
No.
And I don't know what it is. I just there's just got to be something there. I don't know if it's a personality thing, or if the fan bases have changed, or we just we would just need a guy like Jeff Gordon to move on, so we can give up on the old regime and go, you know what? These are the guys that we've got. I guess I have to like Jimmy Johnson here now.
I think we got a lot of good drivers coming in. We got Chase Elliott coming in. They're going to be taking over I believe he's still taking over for Jeff Gordon. I'm going to have to check on that. But I actually look for Chase to be really good in the Sprint Cup Series. He's done great things in Nationwide, what used to be the Nationwide Series. It's now the Xfinity Series. I don't know. I'm still calling it the Busch Series for some reasons every once in a while, just because that's what I know it as.
Yeah, it was that for a very long time.
Oh, yeah, it was that for, 35 years at least, somewhere around there. But, so I look for, we got to, it's just, the talent pool in NASCAR is always expanding. It's always, you're always getting new drivers and you're always looking for new talent. And I think we got a bunch of new talent coming in after this season. So,
okay. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. Joining me in the studio is Sam to help me talk about NASCAR. Is there anybody coming in that you like besides Chase Elliott, or is that the big one?
Well, Chase is the big one, I think. So yeah, but I think it's really interesting. We're seeing a lot of new drivers come in. We're seeing a few other ones go out. A few in the same year. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure Tony Stewart's not going to be racing after this season. He's
long in the tooth there.
Yeah, he's not with it anymore because after that little incident in Kentucky, I believe it was, with the dirt track racing.
Right.
You remember that?
I do recall that. It's kind of sad. You just start to see these guys that have been mainstays.
Oh yeah.
Just start to disappear. And for me, I'm like a casual fan. Like I don't watch every week. I don't know everybody, but like the names that I recognize and have recognized for a long time, they're starting to go away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's that way with any sport. I mean,
for sure.
You with the football, the Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman, quarterback for, oh my word, 10 years at least, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, about there. He could have played longer.
I know, but he
got knocked out by a concussion, and that was...
Same thing happened with Dan Marino, Miami Dolphins. He was also the quarterback for 10 years and just kind of, faded.
Yeah, just
and
like
retired.
Your body can't do it anymore. You've got a certain amount of miles on those legs. Like you see it in San Antonio. Tim Duncan's played for like 20 years though. Yeah. But he's almost gone, and you just...
Well, I mean, it's I guess that's just the nature of sports, so...
Just to sadly and quietly remind us that life is short.
Yes.
That's the job of sports, and that and other things.
I had a PE coach say once, he wanted to teach us how to play, what was it? It was golf or something, or no, it was tennis. Yeah. He wanted to teach us how to play tennis. And you're like, tennis? He's like, well, that's a lifestyle sport. You can play it anywhere, at any age, any place. Football is not a lifestyle sport. And I think NASCAR is not a lifestyle sport.
No, it
Some
certainly
people
is.
Even call it a sport, but
well, you know what? That's their opinion. This is my show. It's a sport.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. It takes a lot out of you to sit in that car, in that seat, for 3 hours, 4 hours at a time. No bathroom breaks. You can't get out of it, and just drive. And that takes a lot out of you.
The level of concentration to do that for that long.
Oh yeah,
is incredibly high.
Oh yeah, and the whole time you're trying to keep in tune of, okay, when do I need to take a pit stop? When do I need to take a tire change? So it's, it takes a lot out of you. Yeah, for sure.
I guess that there's just a certain amount of races that you have before it's gone. And like, we're seeing it with Tony Stewart for sure.
Yeah.
It's just, he doesn't have the touch anymore.
Well, there's a lot of other factors, like I said, with Tony Stewart, but,
nope.
Oh,
we got some adjustment there, and
okay.
All right, we're still moving here. Like, but with the Cup here, who do you think ultimately comes out on top?
Well, I think it's going to be a hard fought battle between Jeff Gordon and Kyle Busch. I would have said Matt Kenseth a while ago, but Kenseth, he's been knocked out for those 2 races. So I do think that Jeff Gordon, I really would like to see Jeff Gordon. I'm sorry, that's just me. I really would like to see him go out.
That's the great story.
Yeah, I know, as a 5-time champion.
I'm rooting for the great story. That's ultimately what I do in a lot of things. I'm rooting for the great story.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for
definitely.
Gordon. And Gordon's been one of my favorite racers probably ever since I got into NASCAR. Probably
Gordon was the driver, I believe, that changed NASCAR a lot. He brought it from because he was, I think, one of the very first. Well, he was one of the first mainstay drivers from up north. I think he was from Indianapolis. Wasn't it?
Philadelphia.
Who am I? Tim Richmond is the other driver I'm thinking of. He was also a big driver that kind of changed the sport, made it more. He was the inspiration for Days of Thunder, but he was one of the big drivers that kind of changed the sport, made it more commercial appealing. And but I think Gordon, but he didn't stick around that long. He died tragically. He only raced for maybe 4 or 5 years, 6 at the most, and then he died tragically in 1989. But Gordon, I think, has really become one of the drivers that's changed the sport. So
that makes a lot of sense, and you just like to see him go out on top at that kind of.
every athlete would like to go out a champion. And Gordon finally has he can do it. I think he could do it. So
we're looking forward to that. Who do you root for in college football?
In college football? Oh, Tennessee.
Tennessee?
Yeah.
All right. So are you excited about what you're seeing from them lately?
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm seeing a lot of good things from them lately. They've definitely, I think, people are giving Butch Jones crap a few weeks ago about, just everything.
Just everything. Yeah. A lot of the decision making, all those things.
They're still a young team. It's a young team. You can't see a young team. You can't expect a young team to be successful like every week like that. It's
just right off the bat. You got to learn how to win.
Yeah, you got to learn you got to learn what you're doing and how to do it.
And Butch has got to learn how to win too.
Well, yeah, but
this is the biggest school he's been at, and he's got to learn how to win also.
But I think they're definitely they're getting their foot in there. They're figuring out what they need to do and how they need to, act as a football team. They're learning how to interact with each other as a football team.
I think so also. And I think that's a game that you need to watch if you're a Tennessee fan this week coming up. They're playing North Texas. They might put 60 on North Texas.
I think that, it's one of those small games you get for homecoming. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. Just guarantee yourself a victory. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. We had NASCAR talk. I'd like to thank Sam Blevins for his time. Yes. And I'm also grateful for your time. Thank you for checking us out and listening to us. I'll see you Monday.
We expect lots of sunshine and nice weather out there through the afternoon. A bit breezy and cool, though. Highs only around 60. Tonight, clear, cold, lows 32 to 35 with a light freeze possible. For Saturday and Sunday, lots of sunshine. Highs upper 50s to around 60, lower 30s again Sunday morning. Don't miss Kohl's Super Saturday. Shop early birds till 1 p.m. Like 50 to 60% off outerwear this Saturday at Kohl's. See store or Kohls.com for details. And I'm Sourcing 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hello, I'm Sheriff Jim Hammond with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. Everyone knows